So I've been using the iPhone 15 Pro Max for an entire month now, and it's probably the best iPhone I've ever had in my life. Now, I know that there's loads of controversy surrounding this thing, like the glass cracking and the back always overheating when you're using it, but if we look past these things, I think you'll realize that this might just be the most significant upgrade Apple has ever created when it comes to the iPhone. There are three simple reasons which I have broken down in this video, which will explain to you, if you watch it to the end, why you might have to run outdoors and buy this phone immediately. Now, those three reasons are the design, the camera, and something really important which I've saved for later in the video. So if you don't want to miss out on that, make sure to stay tuned to the end. Otherwise, let's just jump straight into the design of the 15 Pro Max. So ever since the iPhone 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, you probably noticed that your device just feels a lot thicker and heavier than its predecessor. And I definitely noticed that with my 14 Pro Max. Every time I put it in my pocket, it literally felt like a dumbbell was weighing me down, which was very annoying. But as soon as I took this 15 Pro Max out of the box, I realized that it's a whole different ballgame and might just have reset the clock for the future of iPhones completely. That's down to the main marketing factor of this phone, titanium. Now, titanium is a material that's definitely here for the aesthetics, getting rid of all those fingerprints on the sides of the phone compared to stainless steel. However, for me, the biggest functionality feature is the weight. As soon as I took this thing out of the box, I definitely noticed that it was so much lighter than the 14 Pro. Now, everyone's been saying this, but I don't think you quite understand how important this is. It now means that you can actually buy the 15 Pro Max without making any sacrifice to weight and heftiness, yet have a phone that's still comfortable to use. Paired with those curved edges, this really does remind me of the iPhone 10 and iPhone 11, and I love the way that the curved screen at the front just... We dropped the phone. Okay, maybe these curved edges don't have the best grip in the world, so I would recommend buying a case if you do have a 15 Pro or Pro Max. Do not go out there and buy this 60 bucks worth of crap. This is the fine woven case, just stay away from it. Instead, why not look at a company like Moft? I've been using their leather case, which is really nice. It has these really tactical metallic buttons, which is awesome, and it has super strong MagSafe strength on the back as well, which is nice for their accessories like their MagSafe wallet that I use on a daily basis. But I love using this case on my phone when I'm out and about, and if you want to buy one, check the link in the description below. Though I will say these curved edges, even though they are a bit slippery, they do curve nicely with the actual display, and that's super nice when you're scrolling left and right because it stops your fingers digging into the sides and just curves really nicely as you go from left to right and from top to bottom. So that is super cool. On top of that, I love the colors of this year's iPhone. I know some people are saying they're quite dull, but I decided to go for the natural titanium, and this color, I don't know if anyone's thought of it like this, but I almost imagine it like getting a iPhone 6 and taking the space gray and the gold and the silver and basically mixing them together, and you basically come out with this natural look. This is basically really nice because it has this shine when the sun hits it, but at the same time, when there's a lot of cool lighting, it has this sort of muted gray look, and it kind of reminds me of, like, I don't know, kind of like fashion in the 21st century. Everything's got this very like earthy tone, these like dark or light grays. So I really like it, especially if you're going for like a more of an earthy look. This is definitely the color to get. Otherwise, I did look at the navy blue or the natural or the blue titanium, I think it's called. That does also look pretty cool. So for me, it does look similar to last year's phone, but these small changes like the titanium, even around the rings of the camera with that matte look and no more fingerprints or dust to be seen, does make it look super premium. So I've got nothing against it when it comes to that side of things, and the design really makes this special. Now, when it comes to these cameras, you're probably thinking that physically, they look very similar to the last three iPhones before this one, but after the photos that I've taken, this thing is very different. Now, ever since the iPhone 6 to the iPhone 14 Pro, all photos on the iPhone without turning on any Pro RAW or any crazy features have always been 12 megapixels. And the iPhone 14 Pro introduced 48 megapixels when turning on Pro RAW, which took up so much storage and continues to do so on this phone. But the 15 Pro and Pro Max introduced regular photos now only being at 24 megapixels, which interestingly, Apple didn't really touch on in the event. But I found that whenever I take a picture, it's suddenly a lot more sharper and a little bit more colorful than it used to be on previous generations of the iPhone. And the big sensors also allow in a lot of light. So having a lot of megapixels isn't that big of an issue here because low light photography is really clean. What's also nice is when looking at the main lens, we have 3 new profiles, and that's being able to take 24, 28 and 35mm photos. That basically means that when you have a 1x image, it's just zooming in ever so slightly to like 1.2 and 1.5x. But on this phone, it just makes the pictures a little bit clearer. And it's nicer to have that crop to give you that more professional looking photography. And that also goes for the telephoto lens, especially on the 15 Pro Max, because this year the telephoto lens actually goes up to 5x zoom, which is nice because we're kind of competing with the Samsungs of the world because those devices go up to like crazy levels of zoom. So at least we have that on the iPhone now. If you buy the regular 15 Pro, it's still going to be 3x like the 14 Pro, but that does make quite a difference because zooming in and maintaining high quality photography is super important to me, and I really like it. The ultra wide is quite special because those 24 megapixel photos help those very wide ultra wide shots to be very clear and not lose too much quality when taking them. And what's even nicer is macro photography, and this is when you get very close to your subject to be able to get as much detail as possible. In fact, we went outside to test this and it was very cool. Okay, so I'm outside as usual testing out the camera on the iPhone 15 Pro Max, and I've just seen a little grasshopper, a tiny little insect as you can see down there, and it's so small. But I realized that if you use macro photography on this thing, you could pick up so much detail. So let's give it a go. Now, obviously on the 15 Pro Max, we've got that titanium and we've got that action button. So we can use that to initiate the camera, which is really cool. Now, I'm going to take it really close to this thing. As you can see, it's got this little yellow icon for macro mode. If I turn that off, it goes all blurry. But if I turn it on, you can see we're back in macro mode. Look how much detail is being picked up, even when we get really close to the subject. I'm going to take a couple shots. Get really close. Okay, and then I want to get a couple shots from this side as well. Let's get that. Yeah, okay. Oh my days, this looks insane. Look at this. Literally, you can see its eyes. Let me zoom into the eyes. You can see the eyes of the insect just by using macro mode. You can even see all the details in the skin. Look at that. This is literally insane. Let me find a better one. Look at that. Let's see if we can get... Oh my days, look at this one. Look how close up we got. And this is a tiny little insect. Look how small it is. Versus look what we picked up on here. But yeah, that just shows the power of these lenses. I mean, macro photography is insane. But yeah, I'm so surprised with the cameras on this phone. It's so much more sharper. Like, even though the iPhone 14 is similar, this one just has that extra edge, which if you really are into photography and taking shots like this, you're gonna see. So I think it's pretty clear from all of our testing that these cameras are definitely a powerful set of tools, and the macro photography lens itself is just providing some unprecedented results. I mean, getting that much detail from a microscopic view is crazy, and it really makes this camera a lot of fun to use every single day. But what's making these photos even better than what they already are is the A17 Pro chip inside the phone, because all of that information is being taken in by all of this processing power, and I've noticed it especially in portrait mode photography, which basically allows you to have a bokeh or blur in the background. But instead of having to always go on portrait mode on this iPhone, you can take a normal picture at 1x, and after you've taken that photo, you can edit it and add or remove the blur, which is really cool. In fact, you can even choose how much blur you want, simply because of the depth information that this chip has taken on every time you take a picture. So that alone shows the levels of crazy power Apple's trying to add to these lenses, to the point at which you don't even need to go out there and start buying Canon and Sony cameras if you want to start a channel. I'm filming on an iPhone right now, and it goes to show the level of detail these things can pick up. Now, there is one third very important feature that makes this iPhone redefine what the smartphone can be. And no, it's not USB Type-C. The USB Type-C is an expectation, and the fact that Apple finally brought it onto the iPhone is a bit late. Also, I think it's a bit of an inconvenience for most iPhone users right now, because whenever you go to your friend and ask them to charge your phone, the chances of them having a USB Type-C cable is going to be very low. So there's that. However, the real feature on this phone is the action button. Now, I believe that this feature has been heavily overlooked and just undermined completely. People don't realize the potential of this, and a company like Apple, who doesn't really allow you to customize your phone much, giving you a button to allow you to do nearly whatever you want is quite crazy. And the potential here is on another level. You see, right now, this button basically allows you to open up apps like the camera, initiate the torch, or use Siri shortcuts to do small things like maybe turn on a light or open Shazam. But people don't realize that this feature right here could be so big in the next couple years, especially with different Apple products integrating with each other in the ecosystem. I'm talking you could basically come home one day, have your MacBook connected to an XDR display, use this button to turn on your entire setup, and you go from there. Or this button could then be added onto one of the future iPads to then program it to create a PDF, or you could even, code it to do multiple things. In fact, Apple's so big on coding. In WWDC every single year, they're telling people to code or create programs to do new things with their devices. I can only imagine Apple encouraging people to take advantage of this action button and allow it to do even more for the iPhone, if not with third-party products, even within the scope of the ecosystem. So this action button, while I've only been using it to turn on the camera, I think there is so much potential for this thing. And like I said, in the next 3, 4, 5 iPhones, it could become a very, very important feature that we all rely on. So that for me is very important and has just opened the doors for so much more creativity. So these are the 3 key reasons as to why I believe this phone right here is not only one of the best, but actually one of the most important upgrades Apple has ever made. And honestly, I would not hesitate to go out there and buy this phone, even if I had I do, but even if you had a 14 Pro or 14 Pro Max, because it actually feels different when you take it out of the box. And for me, that's a big enough upgrade because it feels like a new phone in my pocket. So go out there, splash your money on this thing because it really is worth it. And if you want to see how I actually use this iPhone on a daily basis with all the different apps and the way I've set my home screen up with this really clean, minimal look, drop a like down below and I'll release a watch on my iPhone video as soon as possible. Otherwise, make sure to check out this video up here of me using one of the best Android phones I've ever used while I was on my trip to Italy in the Amalfi Coast, and I'm sure you'll really enjoy that video. So thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you guys there.